Hi there. I'm Marlene, and while I was away on a simple business trip, my parents moved into my house, changed the locks, and tried to sell it behind my back. I came home to find my office gone, my bedroom claimed, and a fake legal trail that made it look like they owned everything. But that was only the beginning. Why would your own parents do that to you? Have you ever felt like your family was plotting behind your back? Did they twist love into control? I'd love to hear your story. What time are you watching this, and where are you tuning in from? Drop it in the comments. I'm reading them all. I pulled into my driveway just after midnight. The porch light was on, but not the soft amber hue I'd installed. This one was bright white, almost surgical, washing over unfamiliar ornaments. Ceramic flamingos. A wind chime I'd never seen. My father's rusted Crown Victoria was parked crookedly by the curb, as if claiming territory. My suitcase hit the pavement harder than I meant it to. 2 weeks in Manhattan pitching to clients, dead on my feet. And now this? My home felt foreign. I climbed the steps. The door was unlocked. Surprise! My mother's voice chirped from the living room, as if we were celebrating something. She appeared in her floral robe, her eyes lighting up like this was a sitcom reunion. Welcome home, sweetheart. I blinked. Why is the door open? Oh, honey, we've been here a few days. Thought it'd be nice to freshen the place up before you got back. She gestured broadly, beaming. The living room was unrecognizable. Yellow paint I never chose. A brown suede sectional instead of my navy couch. Framed pictures of me from childhood and awkward middle school years lined the walls, photos I had boxed away years ago. Where's my couch? I asked carefully. In storage. It was sagging, dear. My mother glided past me, offering no further explanation. I walked slowly toward the kitchen. The floor plan had been rearranged, kitchen table shoved aside to make space for an outdated oak hutch. The refrigerator hummed louder than I remembered. I found Dad slouched in my office chair, remote in hand, watching a sports recap. Hey, kid, he muttered, eyes on the screen. I stood in the doorway. You're using my workspace? He shrugged. Just until we get settled. We've got some things in motion. What things? Mom peeked around the corner. You're going to love it. We're thinking of turning this into a real family home again. Maybe open up some space, get a proper buyer lined up. Big plans, Marlene. The words didn't compute. Buyer? Nothing's set, she said quickly, brushing it off. But you've always been too busy to really use this place. We just thought, why let it sit? I swallowed hard, pushing down the rising heat in my chest. This is my house. She smiled like I was missing the joke. And we're your parents. Family shares. My feet felt heavy as I walked down the hall. The guest room was now filled with my dad's model trains. My office was dismantled. I opened the door to my bedroom. There were my father's slippers at the foot of the bed. A buzz in my hand. My phone. One new text from Deshawn. Heard what's going on. You okay? I didn't answer. In the dining room, I noticed a glossy business card beneath the salt shaker. Janine Coates, Premier Realty Group. I picked it up slowly. From the kitchen, I heard my mother's voice, casual, low. We'll list it in a few days, once the paperwork is squared away. She laughed lightly. Yeah, we already filed some forms. Shouldn't take long. My grip tightened around the card. This wasn't a visit. It was a takeover. They weren't just squatting, they were laying the foundation for a theft. Piece by piece, replacing my life with their version of it. Footsteps. My mother appeared beside me. You'll see, sweetie, it's going to work out. For all of us. I didn't speak, just turned, walked back to what used to be my bedroom and locked the door behind me. I clenched my phone in both hands. My fingers hovered over the screen before I typed just one word. Lawyer? The smell of burnt toast crept under my bedroom door. I hadn't made toast. I hadn't even left my bed yet. I dressed quickly and moved through the house like a guest in a stranger's Airbnb. The coffee maker was on, brewing a full pot. My parents' jackets were on the coat rack. My name was still on the mailbox outside, but the kitchen counter told a different story. piled high with opened envelopes addressed to Lorraine Harper at my address. Then I saw the HOA envelope. My stomach twisted. Inside, a welcome letter naming Lorraine as the new primary resident. "Welcome to your community," it read. "My community, my house." I tried the back door, locked. My key didn't fit. I left without a word, hands shaking, chest tight. At the HOA office, the receptionist barely glanced up when I asked to confirm my residency status. "You're Marlene Harper?" She scrolled through her screen. "Oh, yes. The change was submitted 2 weeks ago. Lorraine Harper is listed as current resident. We spoke to her yesterday." I felt the words hit like cold water. There must be a mistake. I own that house. Alone. Her eyebrows rose, but her tone didn't change. "Well, we have the signed change form. If there's a problem, you'll need to file a dispute." She printed it out. There it was, my forged signature, looped and practiced, but wrong in subtle ways only I would know. Underneath, a note. Transition pending sale. I left without saying thank you. At the county office, it got worse. A deed update had been submitted, co-ownership between myself and Lorraine Harper. Again, my name appeared. Again, not in my handwriting. The clerk scanned the page casually. "Yeah, looks like this gives both parties the right to make decisions about the property." I sat down on the bench outside and dialed Josiah, a college friend turned real estate attorney. "They filed co-ownership without my consent," I said. "Is that even legal?" He paused. "Technically, no, but it's going to look legal until you prove it isn't. If it's notarized and processed, you'll have to contest it formally." I closed my eyes. They're boxing me out of my own house. That night I asked them directly. No preamble, no pleasantries. Just stood in the living room and held up the forms like a crime scene photo. My mother barely looked up from her knitting. "It's not theft, Marlene. It's survival. That house was paid for with our sacrifices." "By me," I shot back, "with my money. My work." She sighed. "We gave you everything. You're just too ungrateful to see it." My father sat silently, staring down at the floor like it had something wise to say. I stepped closer. "You forged my name. You filed fake paperwork. That's fraud." Her tone was ice. "Number, it's practicality, and it's already in motion." I left before I said something that couldn't be unsaid. My heart felt like it was trying to punch its way out of my chest. She caught up to me in the hallway, handed me a neatly stapled copy of the co-ownership filing. "You don't have to like it, but it's happening." I didn't reply. Outside, I pulled out my phone and hit call. "Josiah? I need you to find me the best real estate attorney in Maryland. Now." The knock came at 9:02 a.m. I barely had time to sip my coffee before my manager poked her head into my office. Her smile was rehearsed, her eyes unsure. "HR needs a few minutes with you. It's sensitive." I followed her down the corridor, heart already skipping beats. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead like static in my brain. Inside the small HR room, a woman I barely knew leaned forward. "Marlene, we received a call late yesterday. It raised concerns about your mental well-being." I blinked. "From who?" She exchanged a glance with my manager. "Anonymous, but detailed. They said you've been erratic, paranoid, and possibly suicidal. Given your role, we had to—" I cut her off. "My mother." Silence. I stood. "She's trying to make me look unstable. She wants control." Back at my desk, hands trembling, I dialed Josiah. "She's escalating. It's not just legal. It's personal now." He sighed. "I just found something. The notary who signed the co-ownership? Lorraine's second cousin. He filed a sworn statement confirming you signed it. It's airtight. On paper." I leaned back, head against the chair, eyes burning. "So they're not just lying. They've built a fortress around it. 16 years ago, my mom stormed into the high school office, insisting I'd forged my own excuse note to skip gym. The counselor had smiled, kindly. 'Your daughter has a legitimate medical note.' My mother didn't apologize. She just hissed, 'She's manipulative. Always has been.'" That day carved a bruise I never stopped pressing. Back in the present, I opened my laptop, scanning internal call logs. A number flagged as private had been routed through a burner line traced to a convenience store payphone near my parents' neighborhood. The report from HR had notes. Caller claimed daughter was exhibiting manic behavior, fears of suicide, potential danger to self. My stomach dropped. She's laying the groundwork, I muttered. If I look unstable, she takes everything. Josiah's voice on the line was low. You need to start documenting everything. I set up my phone, hit record. The words came halting at first. This is for whoever finds it necessary to question my sanity. My name is Marlene Harper. I'm not crazy. I'm not unstable. But I am being targeted. That night, I stood in front of the mirror. The reflection didn't flinch. I hit record again, this time with venom. She wants war. She has no idea what I'm capable of. I hit send. The video went to Josiah. Then I opened my inbox. One new message. Subject line, URGENT, client reputational concerns. It was from the firm's legal department. I clicked. My face turned to ice. The email landed with a silent thud in my inbox, forwarded from a partner I'd worked with for 6 years. The subject line read, Client concerns, please advise. I opened it with a pit forming in my stomach. The message was unsigned, but it might as well have been signed in my mother's favorite shade of lipstick. It claimed I had frequent emotional outbursts, difficulty maintaining financial responsibility, and was ill-suited to client-facing roles. The language was clinical, weaponized civility. My throat tightened as I scanned it again. I clicked reply, then deleted the draft. What could I say? Sorry, my mother's waging psychological warfare? An hour later, my supervisor called me in. We're reassigning the Northern Trust account, she said, eyes flitting anywhere but at mine, temporarily until things settle. What things? She hesitated. There's perception, Marlene, and right now, it's not in your favor. I nodded once and left the room. My fingers itched to call Josiah, but what was there to say that wouldn't sound like unraveling? He texted first anyway. You need to go public. Now I stared at the screen, thumb hovering. But I didn't move. Going public felt like admitting I was losing. And once the world thinks you're losing, they start helping you fail faster. That Saturday, my cousin Hannah invited me to lunch at her place. Just us girls, she promised. I needed the distraction. I wanted so badly to believe her. I showed up with a bottle of wine. I walked into a room full of relatives, uncles, aunts, even my college roommate. And there she was, Lorraine, at the head of the table, like she was hosting a damned charity brunch. Marlene, she said sweetly, we're all worried. You haven't been yourself. The words hit like glass, shattering inside my chest. She won't return my calls, my uncle said. She's pushing everyone away, added my aunt. You abandoned your mother after all she's done, someone else murmured. I stood frozen as they took turns reading from Lorraine's script. My voice died in my throat. I managed to hold back tears until I reached the door. In the car, my hands gripped the wheel so hard my knuckles whitened. My reflection in the rearview looked like a stranger. Back home, I didn't even take off my coat before hitting record again. My mother staged an intervention, told them I was paranoid, and they believed her. I don't know. Maybe I am broken. I stopped the recording halfway through. Later that night, Alina came over. I didn't ask her to. She just appeared with soup and a quiet presence. When I finally broke down, she held me like I was still someone worth saving. I'm not crazy, I whispered. No, she said. You're exhausted. That's different. We sat in silence, broken only by the hum of the fridge. Then her phone buzzed. She went pale. You need to see this. She handed it to me. A video played. My mother, tears streaking her cheeks, voice trembling. I've tried everything. She won't listen. I just want my daughter back before it's too late. The post had already racked up 400 comments. Most of them weren't for me. Alina didn't speak when she handed me the phone. I knew that look, the one people give before delivering news that makes your stomach fold in half. On screen was a post in the private family group. Lorraine, sobbing into the camera, saying, "I did everything I could. She's not my daughter anymore. She's a stranger who forgot where she came from." The caption read, "When your child forgets their roots." The comments were a mosaic of pity. "You raised her better." "Sending you hugs, Lorraine." Not one person reached out to me. Not one. It was as if I had vanished and left only the shell they could mold. I closed the app, chest tight. The silence from the people who used to call me for advice, for recipes, for baby name suggestions, it was louder than any insult. I tried writing a response, deleted it, wrote again, deleted again. My words either sounded defensive or bitter. Nothing sounded like truth. 16 years ago, I'd forgotten my history paper at home. I called my mom, panicked. Her voice honeyed venom. "Why should I rescue you when you never listen?" I got a 0 that day. She told everyone I had an emotional meltdown over a C-. I never corrected them. The phone rang. Unknown number. I answered anyway. "Hi, Marlene," came the gravelly voice I hadn't heard since the intervention. "Dad." I wanted to check in," he said, hesitant. "Check in? After you sat there and watched her gut me in front of our entire family?" He sighed. "I didn't know she was going to do all that." "You knew enough to sit still." Silence crackled between us. "I didn't want to make things worse," he said quietly. "Your mom said you needed help." My stomach twisted. "You let her lie. You let them all believe I'm unhinged." "I didn't know what to do," he whispered. "Doing nothing was a choice," I snapped. He didn't argue. "Let me be clear, Dad, if you let her hurt me again and you just sit there, we're done. No visits, no birthday calls, nothing." "I don't want to lose you," he said, voice breaking. "Then stop acting like you already have." I hung up, then stared at the wall for a long time. That evening, I cleaned out the guest room, threw out Lorraine's boxes, her floral throws, the live, laugh, love sign she'd nailed into the wall without asking. Every nail I pulled felt like taking a piece of myself back. The doorbell rang just before dinner. A courier stood there with a clipboard and a stiff smile. "Certified delivery for Marlene Vance." I signed without a word. The envelope was thick, official. Inside, a legal notice from the county registrar. Lorraine had filed a formal dispute over my sole ownership of the house. She was claiming co-title rights. I pressed the document flat on the counter and breathed deep. She's not backing down, neither will I. The voicemail came at 2:17 a.m. No warning, just a graveled voice, cracking at the edges. I should have stopped her, but you need to hear this. The clip that followed was old, tinny, distorted, but I knew the sound. My own teenage sobs. Clifford's voice, sharp, furious. "You're nothing but ungrateful. You want to be treated like an adult, but you act like a spoiled brat." I remembered that night. I'd missed curfew by 12 minutes. Lorraine had baited him into exploding. Back then, I thought it was just parenting, but now I saw it for what it was. Ammunition. She'd kept it, used it to manipulate him, blackmailed him into silence, into complicity. I let the phone fall onto the couch. My mouth was dry. There was no air in the room. Later that afternoon, I drove to Deshawn's apartment. We hadn't seen each other in years. He answered the door slower than usual, cautious, like family meant fire these days. "I need to ask you something," I said. "Did she ever do something to you? Financially?" His jaw clenched. "She took my tuition fund," he said flatly. "Every penny. Said she was moving it to a better account. I didn't ask questions. Figured it was just mom being mom. But it vanished." He stared at the window like the memory lived outside it. "She told me I should work for a year, help with Dad's medical bills. I dropped out, never went back." I sat down hard on the arm of his chair. "I thought I was the only one." "You weren't," he said. 16 years ago, I'd heard them fighting in the kitchen. Lorraine saying, "We can't coddle him forever, Cliff. He'll thank us when he's stronger." I'd thought she meant tough love. Now I knew she meant theft. Deshawn handed me an old bank statement. One transaction glared back at me. $18,000 wired from his account to a brokerage named Marler Holdings. I cross-referenced it with Lorraine's old emails. She once signed off as Lormar in a holiday letter, subtle as poison in tea. I copied everything to a new drive. I wasn't just gathering evidence anymore. I was collecting threads to strangle her lies. Back at home, I sat in front of my camera. No makeup, no script, just the raw pulse behind my teeth. My name is Marlene Vance. I'm not perfect, but I am not insane. And I'm done letting someone else narrate my life. I didn't post it. Not yet. I just saved it. As I clicked the export file, my inbox pinged. Subject line: Notice of arbitration. Title dispute. I leaned back, eyes stinging. Game on. I sat across from my attorney, my hands buried in the sleeves of my cardigan, watching her scroll silently through scanned PDFs. Then she stopped, squinted, and said 5 words that turned my stomach inside out. Did you apply for disability? I blinked. Number Y. She rotated the screen. It was a medical document. Diagnoses I'd never heard of. Signatures I'd never seen. A detailed narrative about lifelong cognitive delays, mood disorders, and chronic physical impairments, all attributed to me. Your mother used these to secure federal education grants. 5 years ago, they were submitted as part of a scholarship application tied to your name. I leaned back, the air thinning. How is that even possible? She listed herself as your legal caretaker, claimed you weren't capable of filing for aid independently. It wasn't just a scam. It was identity rape. Someone had wrapped their hands around the bones of my life and puppeteered me like I didn't exist. Later that night, I received an alert from my investment account. Attempted login. Out-of-state IP. A new power of attorney form had been uploaded and... accepted? I called my advisor in a panic. There's a document here giving someone authority over your account. The signature looks like yours, but it's dated 2 weeks ago. It's forged. He was silent for a beat. You may want to freeze access across the board. Immediately. Fear buzzed in my ears like static. I imagined Lorraine, seated at her kitchen table, her hands oily with entitlement, calmly plotting how to erase me while pretending to protect me. A forensic tech traced the IP from the login attempt, Northern Virginia. Then another hit, from a mobile device registered under a fake name. An alias built off my social security number and an old Maryland driver's license I hadn't seen in years. She created a twin account, the tech said. Just enough activity to stay under the radar, but she's been moving money. Small amounts. Over months, I felt something sharp lodge behind my ribs. A fury that came not from shock, but recognition. This wasn't just theft. It was erasure. I took the stairs 2 at a time back to my office. I drafted legal motions, asset freeze, digital protections, fraud notices. I looped Josiah in, then Alina. We made lists, timelines, folders. I wasn't panicked anymore. I was cold, focused, and furious. Then the doorbell rang. A courier held out a thick envelope stamped in red. Subpoena. I opened it with shaking fingers. Lorraine was suing me. Defamation, elder abuse, the letter read. My mother had just declared war, under oath. It started with a call from Josiah at 6:13 a.m. I answered before the second ring. She's trying to move the money now, he said. I was already up, dressed, heart thrumming from a nightmare that apparently wasn't over. Josiah forwarded the alert from the financial fraud unit, an attempt to wire $240,000 from the escrow account linked to the house. Destination, an Arizona law office. Recipient, a trust in the name of Lorraine Dale. I didn't even blink. Stop it, whatever it takes. She's using a lawyer out of Tucson. The paperwork lists her as a relocating retiree. She filed a change of address form with USPS last week. I breathed through my teeth, tight and hot. The gall wasn't what stunned me. It was the timing. Lorraine was preparing to vanish while painting me as the ungrateful criminal daughter. By midday, my team had filed the emergency injunction. We barely beat the transaction. The funds were frozen pending investigation. But then came the second hit. A call from the bank's compliance officer. He sounded rattled. There's a secondary account we traced. The funds were supposed to hop from the Arizona Trust into an account under the name Faye Densmore. My jaw tensed. That's one of her high school friends. They haven't spoken in 20 years. She wasn't supposed to. The account was opened using your mother's internet connection and submitted using IP matching metadata. Fake IDs, false addresses. Your mother created a paper woman. A shell. A name without a person behind it. Lorraine had used ghosts to clean her sins. Armed with the evidence, I signed off on a petition to freeze any account bearing my name or signature, real or forged. I no longer cared about the optics. This wasn't about reputation anymore. This was a war of survival. That night, I sat with a pen in hand, staring at the final version of the cease and desist letter. It wasn't just legal. It was personal. I no longer wanted contact. I no longer wanted closure. I wanted my life back. We served it the next morning. Lorraine would receive it by noon. By 5, an envelope appeared under my door. No stamp, no sender. Inside was a single sheet of lined paper, ink pressed heavy in her neat, stubborn cursive. You'll always need your mother. I stood still for a long time, not because I believed it, but because I finally didn't. The court ruling came in a plain envelope, but it might as well have been embossed in gold. My name, my deed, my future. No one celebrated with me. There were no corks popping, no arms around my shoulders. Just me, standing in the kitchen that had once been overtaken by yellow curtains and ceramic flamingos. Now it was quiet. Not eerie, not bitter. Just quiet. I didn't cry. I thought I would. Instead, I made tea. For 2 weeks, there was no word from Lorraine or Clifford. Not a call. Not a slip of guilt masked as an apology. The silence wasn't peace, but it was space. And sometimes, space is enough to begin breathing again. My therapist, Julia, leaned back in her chair and crossed her legs. You keep using the word daughter like it's a contract. It felt like one, I said. Like I owed her something. And now, I paused. Then, softly, now I think I paid enough. We talked about guilt, about how trauma whispers that survival is betrayal, how loving someone doesn't mean surrendering your identity to their damage. I told her about the note Lorraine had written, the one with that final cutting line. I hadn't thrown it away, but I hadn't reread it either, until today. I pulled it from the drawer, held it like it might burn, and finally let it go. I didn't tear it. I didn't shred it. I placed it in the fireplace and watched the flame unmake it. There was no message left to hold on to. Later that afternoon, I loaded the final boxes into my car. Half my things were heading to a condo across town, just enough distance. Not an escape, a redirection. The house wasn't poisoned anymore. It was simply a place I lived, not one that owned me. I left behind the court injunction, framed on the wall, not as a trophy, but as truth. As proof that I had drawn a line, and this time it held. In my new place, I took on a mentorship program. One of the mentees, Kelly, reminded me of me a decade ago. Nervous, too generous, eager to please. I told her, know your value before someone teaches you to doubt it. She smiled. She would learn faster than I did. That night, I sat alone on the patio. No noise but the rustle of leaves. I opened my phone and scrolled to a draft. A letter to Lorraine I'd written months ago and never sent. Not hate mail, not even a demand. Just grief, poured into paragraphs. I read it once more. Then I stood, walked to the small fire pit I'd built with my own hands, and lit the edge of the paper. It curled, blackened, and floated upward into night air. There are some truths that don't need witnesses to be real. Sometimes survival means choosing yourself, quietly, without applause, and against the people who once held your hand. I used to believe that being a daughter meant enduring everything in silence. But silence nearly cost me everything I built: my home, my name, my peace. If you've ever been gaslit by someone who should have protected you, I want you to know this: you are not alone. Healing is messy. Boundaries are not cruelty, and protecting your own life isn't betrayal. It's necessary. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever had to walk away from someone you still love? How did you find the courage? Drop a 1 in the comments if this story moved you, or share where you're watching from. If it didn't speak to you, tell me why. I want to learn from your view. And if you want more real stories like this one, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Your voice matters here.